Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Range is hot. Lock and load. It's time for the Gun Rack with your hosts, Joey and Drew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gun Rack, Sonoran Desert Institute School of Firearms Technology's official podcast. I'm Josiah Upper. Folks, call me Joey, and today we've got some fun for you. We're going to talk about concealed carry for the bigger guys out there. And for those of you who are not bigger, maybe listen anyway. Just vibe with the struggles that we have to go through. Okay.
Listen, anyone can become bigger.
That's true. For those of you who are smaller, you are simply bigger in training. But we have a lot of good stuff for you today, including that. But before we get into that, let's get into some clues, because Drew Poplin is on the clues. Drew's clues. What do we got today?
All right. So last week's answer was the Heckler & Koch G3. This week,
Heck yeah.
Oh, we like that. We like that. This week, this semi-automatic rifle was designed by a Soviet small arms designer in 1945. It shoots 7.62 by 39 millimeter. It was first imported into the United States in 1988, and due to a high volume of Chinese imports, quickly became a cheap and desirable option. Its feed system is a 10-round stripper clip with an internal box magazine. What firearm am I talking about?
Ooh, that should be an easy one. We'll see. We'll see how people do. That was the first rifle I ever got good with. That is the first. We've actually talked about them before. For those of you who have been listening for a long time, you can bubba these guys up. Drew, do you know what bubbaing is?
No, actually.
It's when you take especially a gun like that that's older, right? That's pure and good, and you just smush it with like plastic and aesthetic atrocities to make it more tactical or whatever. So you could take the Archangel variant is pretty good, but you could take like a Mosin Nagant, for example, and you could swap it up with some, really crappy plastic chassis and all this other. You just take this, or you could stick a rear sight optic Picatinny mount on it, which I have done to one, God forgive me. And those aren't the worst of all of them. The examples with the Mosin Nagant aren't as bad as they can get. This firearm, which I'm pretty proud of having gotten pretty quick because I cannot see the answers at the moment, is responsible for some of the worst bubbas you'll ever see. And that in itself is kind of a hint. This one has a rep for that. But I also owned the civilian version of the G3 back in the day, or its derivative. That is a gun I'll never own again.
Really?
Yeah. So they have the derivative. You get the nice derivative, which is a PTR. And then Century Arms has the SETME 308. They import that. And the SETME is famous for lack of quality in its imports. I have heard that quality has increased of late, but I'm not going to darken its doorways again. I think I picked up a SETME for $650 and it never functioned once. And I sent it back to Century Arms, and they fixed it and sent it back, and it broke again. I never got a chance to fire a single round out of it.
Oh, that's so sad.
I was so mad. Yeah, I found someone, fortunately, who knew what they were doing a little better than me, and we did it that way. I'm sure they got lots of love and joy out of it. But yeah, Chamberlain 308, it's a big thing. A lot of people call it a battle rifle. It is a heavy sucker. Really kind of a cool gun, actually. But yeah, both of these firearms the G3 is not so much near and dear to my heart now, but I've owned both. I think I still have one deep in my vault of secrets. I definitely do. I can't believe I forgot about that. How stupid is that? I have one of these two, and it's the one in question because I got rid of my 7. Anyway, before we hop into concealed carry for fat people, as we depart Drew's clues, let's talk a little bit about Sonoran Desert Institute. Drew, what is Sonoran Desert Institute?
Well, Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school. We are accredited by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission. Commission, otherwise known as the DEAC. We specialize in firearms technology and unmanned/uncrewed technology. We have an associate's program and a certificate program in our firearms school. That is the certificate in firearms technology, gunsmithing, and the associate of science in firearms technology. Both of those great programs. And if you want to know a little bit more about SDI, I encourage you, go to our website, check us out, check through our course catalogs, kind of see what you can get into. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our admissions team. They are lovely people, and I'm sure they would be happy to talk with you.
Absolutely. SDI.edu is a place for you to be right now, no matter what. If you're flying a plane, you get a pass. Everyone else, SDI.edu. Get there or get square. Now, let's talk about the subject of the day, concealed carry for bigger people. Why is that different than regular concealed carry? Well, for one thing, what we need to take into consideration here, how many people that applies to, right? I believe it's a third of Americans are obese at the moment, or considered obese by the little BMI chart, which is an absolute fabrication of it. Yeah, BMI is absolute nonsense. But the point is, there are quite a few people overweight in this country, and obese and technically overweight aren't even the same thing. That number is even higher according to that metric. And everybody carries differently according to the particular needs of their body, where things can hide, just like the same reason certain guns feel better in other people's hands or worse in certain people's hands. The way that you carry a firearm is going to be tough too. There are two particular categories that I'm thinking of in this case, but there are all sorts of different ways we can go into this. There is something I'll tell you guys as an overweight person, when we initially conceptualized this episode, which was quite a few months ago now, I've lost 40 pounds since then with trumpet and fanfare, but I'm still heavy, which tells you how how bad things were there for a minute. But the point is, I conceal carry. I conceal carry a lot, and I've concealed carried at different weights throughout my life. Now I would probably not consider myself obese, but still overweight. Earlier this year, I was very obese, and I've even concealed carried at a weight that's a little healthier. So I've had the whole range, and it's different. I will tell you right now, emphatically, it is different, depending on how your body is built. And for those of you who have experienced that along with me, same thing. I'm sure you have felt that as well. Drew, in case you guys are hopping on for the first time here or haven't hopped on in a while, Drew is a gun fan, but he is not a concealed carrier yet. I know that's something we've talked about maybe doing sometime down the line, but it's not a thing yet, unless I'm mistaken.
Not yet. I'm getting married here in like 3 weeks.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited, but money right now is pretty tight, obviously.
Toy.
So I'd imagine here probably in December, I'm seriously going to be looking at some concealed carry options.
Heck yeah, dude.
And because of this wedding, I feel like me and Joey are almost ships in the night as far as weight going. Joey is losing weight, and I've been stress eating like a bad mama jamma. So
yeah, I feel that deeply. I finally found out the trick to counter stress eating, at least for me, is I also stress pace. Like I just walk up and down, and quite a few times in the past couple of months, my stress pacing alone has gotten me past 10,000 steps in a day.
ooh.
I'll stress pace upwards of like 4 miles a day. Especially we started a new job, which we talked about just a little bit earlier. I'm not going to plug them on here. That doesn't seem particularly cash money of me, but it's a new job and I love that. But new jobs have adjustment periods, and I want to be sure I'm doing a good job. And there's, you start a new job, there's some stress involved, even if it's a good job with good people, which this one happens to be. And I'm super grateful for that. So a lot of stomping up and down the grounds. We've talked about doing theater. I memorized by pacing. Whole thing. Walking around is every bit as powerful in a lot of ways as small amounts of other cardio would be. That's pretty cool, I think.
Yes. So you're telling me if I just start pacing in my room like I'm Edgar Allan Poe being tortured by a story I want to write, that can work?
It can. It's worked for me.
Awesome.
That's almost all. Yep. I've cut down the comfort food now, but the first, I don't know, 15 pounds were just, there was no changes in diet whatsoever. It was just walking around. But anyway, there are all sorts of different kind of modes of carrying. We've talked about different positions before, inside the waistband, outside the waistband, all of which have individual merits, some of which are recommended for people that are a little bigger, some of which are a little more difficult. To be weirdly personal on the podcast, at my heaviest weight, I was 276 pounds. There are people in the world that were definitely heavier than I am, but there are most of the world was significantly lighter than I am, especially at the height that I was or am. I'm about 5'9", so I was hanging out about 85 pounds overweight. It's not a good look, but that's weirdly personal. But just to give you a concept of where we're at, in terms of how things fit, you can kind of reconcile that with your frame and where you're at size-wise. But there's a concept that I can't remember who it was. I was looking around on YouTube doing some research for this a while back, and this guy coined the term the 300th parallel. And the 300th parallel, as he put it, is the constricted waistline you have if you weigh more than 300 pounds, where your gut is hanging over it and your thighs are expanding under it, which makes it exceptionally difficult to conceal carry in that area. And as I just said, I didn't weigh quite that much, so I don't quite have that, but I understand the, love handles make it hard to conceal carry on your side. They just do, right? If they're low enough, they will push the grip or the handle out. I don't know why I keep saying grip. They will take the butt of your handgun and punch it out to the side, which makes 3 o'clock carry specifically an increasingly difficult proposition. Appendix carry, you've got a gut that is hanging over, which makes it difficult to draw from and can be very uncomfortable. The guy, I did a few videos together to kind of research this thing out. So I'm trying to remember if it's the same guy. I think it was. He concealed carried at his appendix. So it is possible, but I have tried it multiple times and have never once found it comfortable or acceptable in any way, shape, or form. I know for most people that conceal carry, appendix is king. But for me, it's just never been comfortable, and my gut has been a large component of that. I haven't tried it since I've lost, half as much as I'm supposed to. Maybe I will when I trim down even further. We'll see. I do not get the appeal at all. One of the things also worth paying attention to this kind of thing, when you've got love handles, when you've got a gut, etc. And there's no judgment here. When you are carrying, you might want a holster that goes up and covers all of the side of your handgun that is facing your body. The grooves in your slide that make it easier to chamber around, that you use to, prime the weapon or firearm, can dig into your side. But much more than that, if you are using a hammer-fired handgun, that hammer can dig into you like nobody's business. And that can really hurt. That's the thing in appendix carry that's so painful. That's the thing on 3 o'clock carry that's been so painful for me historically. It is possible to do it without that issue. And what you have to do in that case is have a holster that's going to cover that hammer if your gut comes out and over that handgun. Something to keep in mind. For the record, we want to thank Nate Holsters. They sent me I sent out an all call to a couple of holster companies, and Nate Tactical sent me a holster specifically with this concept in mind, and I've tested it out a few times. It is incredibly comfortable. It is a very comfortable holster. It's got kind of I think it's a neoprene backing, and then a plastic, I don't think it's even a Kydex container for the trigger guard and everything. Mm-hmm. But the thing that the that holster has that I have an issue with is you have to move the handle of the gun a little bit to get it to, there's like a locking mechanism that you have to unlock to draw it.
Mm-hmm.
It is having seen a lot of people do it, it is definitely something you can get used to. But I will say that mechanism and getting used to it, and I've tried quite a few times, has been what has prevented me from making that my daily holster. So it's on my to-do list to do that a little more.
Mm-hmm.
It was so nice of them to send it. They have a lot of people that love them deeply out there. So a lot of pluses for Nate Tactical, but I do not wear it currently, and that is why. If I get to the point where I can do that regularly, I will update you guys, and I will be more than happy to plug them. I've known about them for a long time, and they also have, if you're not interested in that, they have a cloth trigger guard that you can purchase, and that's pretty normal for them. So you can do a sleeve there. It does cover your trigger guard still. I didn't, that was one of the things I could have asked for. I like a good Kydex or leather around it on principle, which is why I did not do it, but something to keep in mind if you're so interested. So that's my little Nate holster spiel.
Yeah, that was very nice of them.
Yeah, I thought so too. But anyway, that kind of eliminates 3 o'clock carry a lot for me. Not completely. It completely eliminates appendix carry for me as a bigger guy. So there's some other options here. I'm going to talk about cross draw and shoulder holsters for a minute. And these have, I think we've mentioned this not too long ago, your gut and the amount of excess body weight you carry in your chest can prohibit a smooth or timely draw in a cross draw position, because essentially what you have to do is draw around your circumference of the front of your body to safely withdraw your firearm in both cases. So you have to go around your middle to get your firearm from a cross draw belt, and you have to go across your chest to get it from a shoulder holster. If your arms are long, everybody's built different. If your arms are long, it matters less. If you're like me, my arms are a little short, but mostly proportional to my height, and I happen to be short, and you have a gut, I had to lose. It's practical now, and I'll tell you guys now that I am about 45 pounds overweight. Then it was not at all practical when I was 85 pounds overweight. It was like, I thought a shoulder holster was super cool, and then it was just like, it was so difficult to draw, it was prohibitive. And all of this, talking about this to hundreds of people is incredibly embarrassing, but I think it's helpful, so we're sharing it. Those are things you want to keep in mind in this particular context. So we're I'm checking off things that we don't want to have if we want to be 100% the whole time. And I think we've done that with quite a few. We have a couple left. We've gotten rid of appendix carry, 3 o'clock carry, and cross draws. That leaves 4 and 5 o'clock carry, and then straight small of back carry. Straight small of back carry has a lot of detractors out there, and there are some legit reasons for that. If you try to sit with small of back, you will have a bad time long term. As someone with a bad back, you can really screw up. The weight pressed into your spine is a bad look. If you are walking around and you have small of back carry, things start to open up a little bit more options there. So it is an option. I think the best option for my overweight concealed carry boys and girls out there, and once again, I said this before in this podcast, but no judgment to you, 4 and 5 o'clock carry, I have found to be the most conducive to comfort, to concealability, and to expediency. You should be able to comfortably draw from your 4 or 5 o'clock. There's a reason it's popular with everyone, not just overweight people. It should be a little more comfortable if your love handles aren't particularly large, and there's no judgment again if there are. You should be able to draw around them pretty comfortably, but it eliminates the complete pain that can be your straight small back. So that is my spiel on concealed carry in terms of positions. In terms of holsters, outside the waistband is almost always going to be more comfortable. But as we've mentioned before, outside the waistband is not as conducive to concealed carry. It just isn't, right? So If you can avoid the outside the waistband, if it's the only thing you can do and you need to wear layers to conceal carry, then that's what you got to do. If you can avoid it, what we can do is an inside the waistband holster with a holster that can cover the hammer, if you have a hammer fired gun, or just the general side of your gun, so you're not causing irritation or sweating into it, which can cause corrosion. That's not even a big guy thing. That's just, massive humidity around your gun's not a good look. So if you can do Nate and that system works for you, that's something that can work. Some sort of hybrid holster is generally going to be my recommendation, period. You can get some Kydex holsters that are sufficiently comfortable for this kind of thing. They can poke you if they're too long. They can kind of poke your side. But there are definitely some options out there. I am not a huge fan of alien gear personally, but I will tell you I own some, and sometimes it's the most comfortable thing to wear. So it's possible. So that is my spiel on concealed carry for the heavy. If you have any additional questions about this, please feel free to send questions to marketing@sdi.edu. We're going to absolutely do some follow-ups on this. I think we would have a great time. That is all for me on the gun rack today, but we're about to hand it off to Drew Poplin for the Tales from the Range and a little SDI plug before we head out today.
All right. Thank you very much, Joey. And so let's go on to Tales from the Range. Tales from the Range. All right. This comes from sksboard.com. User RoadkillRUs. Not sure what that means, and I don't think I want to know. So Roadkill says, a while back, my wife and I had our Remington Viper 22 LR at the local indoor range. Next to us were a couple guys with a civilian AK and an SKS. One guy was shooting the SKS for the first time and hadn't really shot much, period. 25 yards, he was all over the paper. My wife, getting used to a scope all over again, somehow ended up aiming at his target. I noticed after a couple shots and got her attention. She pointed out to the second guy next door who was watching his friend try to stay on paper what happened and said she'd apologize when he stopped shooting. He looked at the target. The smaller holes were in the 8 and 9 ring. He said, no worry. He'll just think he got a little better. I wonder why the holes are smaller near the center. So at least they had a good attitude about it. And that was our Tales from the Range. And before we go, real quick, just going to talk one more time about SDI. Now, obviously, I work for SDI. Joey has a strong affiliation with the SDI. So you may be wondering, obviously, you guys are going to be plugging the school. Why should I trust you? And that's a fair question. However, I would encourage you, go to our website, www.sdi.edu/news, and there go to our grad features tab. Go there and you can hear from students and from graduates who have attended SDI, who've gone through our programs, and they have great things to say. Finishing one up, actually, is Zach Brokaw, or Brokaw. I talked with him a couple months ago. Really cool dude, great taste in music. So that should be coming out really soon. But yeah, so go over to www.sdi.edu/news, go to the grad features tab, and see for yourself what people are saying about our school and how it helped them grow as a gunsmith. And with that, that concludes our episode. Y'all, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who keeps supporting and listening to the podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you want more people here, share it with your friends. We'd love to have them be a part of the community too. But until next time, I'm Drew Poplin. This is the Gun Rack. Have fun out there, stay safe, and we will see you at the range.
Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school accredited by the DEAC. It is headquartered at 1555 West University Drive in Tempe, Arizona. For more information about how you can craft your firearms future, visit sdi.edu.